Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to SFAF, or Staying Fertile AF. I recently posted a video called Stop Telling Kids Humans Are the Problem. And guys, the comment section was intense. I saw quite a few people on the comment section justifying not having children because of finite resources and planet capacity. I want to be clear though, I love the pushback. So if you've got an intelligent argument, keep it coming. I want this channel to be a place where the best ideas win through open debate and backed up discussions. I'm also learning from your guys' perspective when you leave comments. And honestly, I'm not scared of changing my opinion. But after looking at the data, and thanks for those guys who inspired me to really look into this, I'm even more convinced that the overpopulation narrative is a big fat lie. I put together an essay based on the physics of the Earth's actual crust and the reality of modern engineering, and I'm really proud of it. So let's take a look at my essay and see why the world isn't as full as they've told us. Overpopulation is a lie. In the 1960s, the world told a lie that we are still living with today, that more humans equals a dead planet. The narrative was popularized by Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb, which predicted a mass starvation apocalypse by the 1970s. He convinced a generation that global society would collapse because we simply couldn't grow enough food, but he made a fundamental error. He viewed humans only as consumers, not as creators. While the doomsayers were busy calling for population control, engineers tripled the caloric yield per farmed hectare. The math suggests we will be able to triple, quadruple, or even 10x our current population without starving. So our land hasn't gotten any bigger, the earth hasn't gotten larger. However, we've managed to increase the output per square meter. We've solved for calories through engineering, not expansion. We haven't starved. We've built our way out of the crisis. So we didn't starve, we engineered a fix. In fact, we've actually done the complete opposite. For the first time in history, more people die of eating too much than eating too little. Our problem today isn't a lack of food, it's the opposite. It's having too much. Claiming that more humans equal a dead planet is a fundamental misdiagnosis of how human creative problem solving and brilliance actually work. The overpopulation argument is so effective because it scares people and predicts doom. As humans, that's exactly what we're wired to pay attention to. It's the same reason why the news is always negative, otherwise viewerships would crater. The narrative frames every new life as a weight on a sinking ship rather than the very crew we need to navigate out of the storm. Telling the world that we're overpopulated, that we shouldn't have more kids because it's draining all the resources. It's a great story to tell and it'll get a lot of attention, as it obviously has. And the average person is buying into this because people don't want to question the experts or examine the basic physics or think for themselves. In reality is on our side. The Earth receives enough solar energy every single day to produce 10 times the human race's yearly energy consumption. We currently have 1.6 billion hectares of arable land. Each hectare can currently produce 10 to 35 million calories. With our current land, we can feed up to 56 billion humans. One human consumes 1 million calories per year, approximately. So resource scarcity isn't a death sentence. It's an engineering challenge that we may already have solved, but definitely is one that we are fully capable of solving, provided we have the next generation of minds to build it. So we need the people to do this, and we need the business cases to extract them or fund them. But we can always solve almost any problem, but we need people to do that. Why we aren't running out. We often discuss finite resources as if we have already cataloged every corner of the planet, but the reality is that humanity has barely scratched the surface of what is available. To put our lack of reach into perspective, we have explored less than 5% of our oceans and seen only 0.001% of the deep sea floor. Actually, the amount of resources we have is growing. The reserve paradox. Virgin material versus global inventory. The most common error in resource discussion is treating the earth like a fixed bucket that we are slowly emptying. Physically, that is not true. All material we've mined stays here on Earth, except for the very tiny amount we send into space. But even if you ignore recycling and only consider virgin, so i.e. untouched, resources, the scarcity narrative still fails. If we were really emptying a fixed bucket, our global reserves, the material we have located and can extract profitably, would shrink every year as we consume them. But the data from US Geological Survey shows the exact opposite. As we have ramped up our production of virgin material, our known reserves have only increased. Think of our global material reserves as inventory on a store shelf. Just because the shelf becomes half empty at times, it doesn't mean the warehouse is out of stock. It just means we haven't moved more boxes from the back yet to refill the stock. But the stock is there. And we aren't just restocking new shelves. Because of human incentives, we're constantly building a bigger warehouse, finding better suppliers, and even inventing entirely new products to replace the old ones. Because the more we consume, the more we find. Shock, I know. And why is that? Because consumption creates demand. And demand creates incentives for engineers to build better sensors, build better drills, better technology. We're not mining a dead planet. We're unlocking a planet that we've barely introduced ourselves to. Reserves is not a measure of what currently exists in the earth. It's a measure of what we are currently able to reach. So take copper as the benchmark. In 1994, the global production was approximately 9.4 megatons. Reserves were estimated at 310 megatons. Today, we produce over 22 megatons annually, yet after 30 years of record-breaking consumption, known reserves have nearly tripled to almost 1,000 megatons. We are effectively discovering new supply faster than we can extract it. So while our production and consumption has increased by about 2.4x, our known reserves, so what's available, tripled to 1,000 million megatons. So even at the current rate, with no new discoveries, and again, that's not accounting for recycling, we have decades of proven accessible supply already identified. The resource potential of the top 2 kilometers. Almost all human extraction currently occurs within the top few hundred meters of the crust. If we look specifically at the top 2 kilometers across only 10% of the land surface, i.e. not crust under ocean, so only the land, the volume of material available for 8 billion people is massive. So in order to understand how the overpopulation argument fails, you have to look at the math of what's available to us in the Earth's crust. Right now, we only mine the surface. I think the deepest hole we've ever gone down to is 12 kilometers. The crust is about 25 to 100 kilometers deep. And on average, like the very deepest gold mines in South Africa are about 2 to 4 kilometers. Most of the mining actually occurs on the top layer of the crust. So if we look at the top 2 kilometers of only 10% of the Earth's crust, depths where our technology is already reaching, you'll see that the amount of material available is already proof that scarcity is a choice and not a physical reality. Calculated resource supply per person. Aluminium, approximately 8.1% of the crust. This equals to circa 874 tons per person, or enough for 2,900 EVs, which would equate to a global fleet of more than 23 trillion cars, which is more than 16,000 times the current global fleet. That's 2.9K, not for the world, that's per person. That's your personal share of the material sitting in only the 10% of the top layer of the planet. Iron, approximately 5% of the crust. This equals circa 540 tons per person, or 245 shipping containers per person. What are you going to do with that much iron? Copper, approximately 0.005% of the crust. This equals circa 0.5 tons, or 500 kilos per person. Since a high-end smartphone contains about 15 grams of copper, your personal amount is enough to build 33,000 iPhones. And lithium, approximately 0.02% of the crust. This equals to circa 0.2 tons or 200 kilos per person, which is enough for 16 long-range EV battery packs per person, i.e. more than 90x the current global fleet. So if everybody on Earth had 16 Teslas, we still wouldn't be out of lithium. And again, I'm going to iterate that this calculation here is talking about a tiny sliver, just 10% of the land, and only 2 kilometers deep. Only 2 kilometers deep of 10% of the land. And we're not even touching the ocean floor or the other 90% of the Earth's crust. So come on, people, are we really going to pretend that we're running out of resources? To say we have limited capacity and we're overpopulated, when the math here is so clear, it's just an error. It's essentially admitting that you've stopped looking at the facts. Innovation, substitution, and space resources. The lack of exploration today isn't due to shortage of materials. It's a choice driven by economics. If a solution is possible within the laws of physics, humans will engineer it as soon as it becomes profitable. When we run low on resources, we don't just sit there and starve. We do one of two things. One, reach further. We build the technology to go where we couldn't before, like the deep ocean or eventually space. Two, we replace it. We find a better substitute. We didn't leave the Stone Age because we ran out of rocks. We found metal. We aren't moving away from oil because the wells went dry. We are moving away because we've engineered better solutions not dependent on oil. Now, some may argue that while we have access to more resources, they are only affordable by the rich. Looking at the inflation-adjusted prices for aluminium, iron, copper, and lithium, they are actually falling. I asked Gemini to generate inflation-adjusted metal prices for the past 150 years on a log scale. Nothing else would fit. Prices are flat or dropping. Why? They follow Wright's law, which states that for every cumulative doubling of production, the price of metal or anything will fall with a certain percentage. And we have more material, and they cost the same or they're cheaper. Exceptions, of course, occur in the short term if you have a sudden spike in demand, e.g. for lithium and copper due to electrification. But as you can see, they are already coming down again. Not something that would happen if people thought we were running out. And these are not stupid people. These are people that are actually putting their money down and actually paying for the material, not people without any evidence to support their illiterate claims. And the solution doesn't end at our atmosphere. Space contains resources on a scale that makes Earth's entire material supply look microscopic. For example, NASA is currently tracking the metallic asteroid 16 Psyche, which is expected to contain enough gold, iron, and nickel to be valued at roughly $10 quintillion. If we actually need more resources, physics allows us to go and get them. Whether it's mining the deep sea floor or harvesting the asteroid belt, or continuing with what we've been doing for millennia, the materials are there. Abundance isn't a fantasy. The only missing variable is the next generation of builders with the courage, knowledge, and resources to go and get them. Oh, and newsflash, they need to be there. And how do we get these people there? They're born. So now I've shown that we have enough resources to build, but do we have enough food to live? Case study, the Netherlands. Take a look at the Netherlands. It is one of the more densely populated countries on Earth, with 18.4 million people living in a space you can drive across in less than 4 hours. In this picture, you can see the Netherlands there. It's the tiny little red dot, quite densely populated, but the little red dot there in Europe. By the logic of limited resources, this tiny nation should be a net drain on the world's food supply. Instead, the Dutch have proven that food security is a function of infrastructure, not land area. They are the world's second largest food exporter by value, falling only behind the United States, a country with roughly 270 times its size. According to Statistics Netherlands and Wageningen University, the country maintained an annual agricultural trade surplus of 42.4 billion, meaning it provides far more value to the global market than it consumes. Here you can see the top 10 food exporting countries in 2025. Netherlands is number 2. Tiny country being able to produce that much food for the world. Agricultural output per square meter. This output is driven by the physics of precision engineering. While traditional open field farming is dictated by seasons, soil, and weather, Dutch greenhouses create a controlled environment that acts as a yield multiplier. Top-tier Dutch greenhouses produce up to 80 kilograms of tomatoes per square meter, compared to just 4 kilos in a traditional open field. This is a 20x increase in yield on the exact same footprint of land, although on average for vegetables, fruits, and grains, the productivity increase is only 10x. This efficiency extends to resource consumption. National Geographic reports that Dutch greenhouses use roughly 9 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of tomatoes. while advanced closed-loop systems have reduced this to only 4 liters. So the hyper-advanced systems in the Netherlands can produce a kilo of tomatoes by only using 4 liters of water, but the average Dutch greenhouse uses approximately 9 liters. The global average for soil-grown tomatoes is roughly 214 liters per kilogram of tomatoes. This technology allows food to be grown at scale regardless of local soil quality, water resources available, or climate, i.e. cold weather in Northern Europe. It doesn't matter the time of the year, the Dutch are able to produce these tomatoes, or any other vegetables or grain or anything else that they export. When you look at the raw energy output, the overpopulation argument fails. A high productivity Dutch greenhouse produces roughly 10x what you produce in a normal field, 14.4 billion calories per square kilometer annually. Assuming a high abundance diet of 2,730 calories per day, 1,000,000 calories a year, a single square kilometer of this infrastructure can support over 14,400 people. To feed the entire globe population of 8 billion people at this level of abundance, you would need about 0.55 million square kilometers, aka less than 1% of the Earth's land surface, or less than 0.01 of the current arable land, which leaves plenty of room for inefficient meat production from our animal friends, which is extremely inefficient, therefore expensive. Therefore, humans are currently developing new solutions, e.g. growing artificial meat in vats, which will enable us to all eat only meat of high quality without any drain on natural resources in terms of land. Even though we have the space, we can always use more land for natural parks or make more food for more people that are more awesome. The data indicates that we are not approaching a physical limit for life on Earth. According to the FAO, only about 12% of the Earth's land surface is currently used for crop production, and less than half of the world's potentially arable land is under cultivation. Land scarcity is a variable we manage through innovation, engineering, and technology. Conclusion: why the future needs more humans. The narrative of overpopulation is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what a human being is. If you view a person only as a mouth to feed and a body to house, then yes, every new life looks like a burden, a virus, draining everything in its path. But the data proves otherwise. We have barely touched the resources in our crust. We have enough resources on Earth to enable abundance for everyone multiple times over. We have proven that we can feed vastly more than 8 billion people using less than 1% of our land. The limits of growth aren't physical, they are psychological. People believe and justify to themselves that having more kids is bad. They do not think for themselves. The only real threat to our future is the belief that we have no future. When we stop building families because we fear finite resources, we are successfully killing the only resource that actually matters: human ingenuity. Every new child is a new set of eyes to see a problem and a new brain to engineer a solution. They aren't the weight on a sinking ship. They are the crew who will sail the ship to new horizons where they will build a better future. We aren't a virus on this planet. We are creators, builders, and explorers. The world doesn't need fewer humans. It needs more of them. It needs the next generation to look at the limits we've been taught to fear and realize they were never there to begin with. So that's why you and I should stay fertile AF. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think in the comments. And like I said, open platforms. And if you like this video and you want more of it, then please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.